if you want to pass it on to colleagues, friends, family, etc. One last point of note, please don't click the Start Webcam button if it appears on your screen. As much as we'd love to see what you look like, it might be slightly distracting for everybody. So allow me to introduce you to Lindsay Taylor. Lindsay is one of Reed Learning's associates and is a specialist PA and administration trainer. She is very experienced. She has extensive first-hand experience of the role and its challenges, having worked as both an EA and a PA for over 10 years in the UK, as well as across the pond in the US. And I know she's absolutely delighted to be able to share her considerable expertise with you all today. So without further ado, Lindsay, over to you.
Thank you very much for that introduction, Ben, and good afternoon and welcome to everyone joining us this afternoon. I'd just like to add one more thing to my introduction, actually. Something that I believe in is fun, down-to-earth, jargon-free learning that provides instantly usable skills. And that's what this afternoon's session is all about. I work with PAs from a diverse range of industry sectors, both public and private. And what's evident to me, irrespective of the sector, is that the strong and stronger PA demonstrates 3 abilities. Now, these 3 abilities form the basis of this webinar and the 2014 Assertiveness Workout. Firstly, the stronger PA is able to communicate assertively. Secondly, they are able to maintain work boundaries. And thirdly, they have mastered the art of saying no. The benefits of these 3 abilities is that you will be accepted as a credible and professional member of the teams in which you work. This in itself has benefits to your own self-esteem. And being able to quickly and efficiently communicate assertively, being able to maintain work boundaries and mastering the art of saying no will ensure you save precious time and energy too. A real plus and benefit for you when I know you're juggling so many demands on your time and energy, and it ensures both your efficiency and effectiveness as a PA. I'm sure you'd all agree that the role of the PA is evolving. PAs in 2014 are expected to have knowledge of and involve themselves in a real cross-section of their organisations. Finance, HR, marketing and project management, to name just a few. And with ever-changing technological advances, the PA is expected to communicate across a wide range of media and channels and overcome the obvious distractions these present. So let's start with thinking about assertive communication and being really clear about what assertiveness is. I'd like to introduce you to the ABC of behaviour. I'm sure you'd all agree that it can be very frustrating when faced with confrontation or situations that are outside of your control. When we are antagonised, the A of this model, by an antagonist, our innate response is to react in one of 2 ways. We behave either with a passive response or an aggressive response. Essentially, a passive response is our flight reaction. We may run away physically or metaphorically, and our aggressive response is our fight reaction. I'm sure you'd agree that neither passive or aggressive, our fight or flight response, is useful in its consequence, or more important, professional in the work environment. A much better and more professional behaviour and response, then, is one of assertiveness. So what is assertiveness? Well, the definition that I find the most useful is this. Assertiveness is standing up for your own rights without violating the rights of others. Assertiveness is about respecting the fact that the world is made up of different people. I always say this is what makes the world such an exciting place. It's also what can make the world such a challenging place. It's also what can make your workplaces such a challenging place. Not everyone thinks the same as you. Assertiveness is about having a respect for different views and perspectives. So how can we communicate assertively? Let's think about communication in terms of three elements, the three V's. The verbal element, so the words or vocabulary that we use. The vocal element, so the tone of voice that we use. And the visual element, so our posture, our body language, and our facial expression. In order to deliver a strong message with the most impact, meaning, and power, these three V's need to be used effectively together. With rapid technological advances, the 2014 PA is faced with having to communicate effectively across many different channels. In terms of delivering impactful messages that use the three V's, this has its challenges, as the following video will demonstrate to you.
Audience. Take an all-round approach. For example, when you see the words "thanks a lot" in an email, you could interpret that to be a nice, positive statement. However, have the words spoken like this, "thanks a lot," and the meaning changes. Add this expression, and you get a clear message which is very different to the one you thought you got in that email. When you're communicating, whether you're doing a presentation, lecture, interview, sermon, or speech, the point is that you need to consider all three V's. It doesn't really matter what percentage they each have. The problem is, it's not as easy as it sounds. Technology is making the use of the three V's ever more difficult. When speaking to someone face-to-face, you have use of all three V's. But make a telephone call and you lose the visual. So, no body language or facial expression. Send a message by email, and now you've lost the vocal, so no tone of voice. How many times have you had to add a smiley face to convey emotion in an email? And what about texting or tweeting? With character limits, even grammar and spelling are lost to some degree. So you don't have any of your V's. There's no visual, vocal, and now not much verbal either. So remember the importance of the visual and improving posture, body language, and facial expressions, while keeping the vocal quality of what you say in mind. This can add tremendously to the power of your communication and make your words, your message, much more accessible to your audience. Take an all-round approach.
So, for us to be strong PAs and maintain credibility and respect as an assertive team member, the three V's need to be used together when communicating assertively. We do need to take an all-round approach with our verbal, our vocal, and our visual. So let's consider the three V's in terms of assertiveness then. Verbal assertiveness needs to be open, honest, and to the point. We need to use I statements and share our feelings. We need to acknowledge our own rights, wants, and needs, whilst asking questions of others to find out their wants and needs. Focus on problem solving and the future. Vocal assertiveness then. Our timing of our speech needs to be concise. We put forward our own view and allow others to have their say. Our voice is relaxed, steady, and firm, with evenly paced breathing. And we place an emphasis on key words. Visual assertiveness then. Our eye contact is gentle, direct, and relaxed, and where possible at the same eye level. Our posture is relaxed, upright, and balanced. We need to face the other person at a distance acceptable to them. Our body gestures are balanced and open. And our facial expression is open, pleasant, and relaxed. A great model to use when being assertive is the ADA model. This introduces a format for the words we can use, the verbal aspect. Remember, you will be delivering this message thinking about the vocal and visual element too, how you use your tone and voice and your body language and posturing. Here's an example of ADA in practice. A stands for action. State the actual action that has happened. As an example, yesterday you missed the deadline for the monthly report. I stands for impact. State the impact the action has had. As an example, when this happens, there is a knock-on effect to me and people in other departments who cannot put their reports together until yours is complete. D stands for desired outcome. State the desired outcome or goal to ensure this does not happen again. In the future, could you strive to meet the deadline, or let me know if you're having a problem meeting it, and we can work something out. And our final A stands for agreement. Get the agreement from the other person. Remember, assertiveness is about respect, that someone may have a different view or perspective to you. We want to open up communication here to foster that respect whilst respecting their rights. Drawing on the skills and knowledge you now have in communicating assertively, let's consider the art of saying no and maintaining work boundaries. In my experience, saying no and maintaining work boundaries is something that many PAs struggle with. The very profession of a PA, a personal assistant, is to assist and help your manager, office and organisation to operate as smoothly as possible. You want to be as helpful as possible, and saying no may appear to be at complete odds and loggerheads with this. You may think that being helpful and assisting in your role always means saying yes. That's understandable. I've been there. As an EA working for a busy legal department, I prided myself on assisting and helping the team, and ultimately the organisation worked smoothly. However, I kept an objective view that this didn't always mean I had to say yes. It was okay to say no to maintain the boundaries of my role and to foster credibility and respect as a valued team member. At the end of the day, you're one person with one pair of hands. You need to be able to prioritise your workload and concentrate on the areas of responsibility that are adding real value to your workplace and which fit with your job remit and the expectations of you as a professional PA. We are not being helpful to ourselves, our sanity, our well-being if we always say yes. We need to be really clear about where our work priorities lie, what the boundaries of our role are, in order that we can concentrate our time and energy on the right things. It's okay to say no, and that in itself is an art form. So I'm going to introduce you to some helpful ways to say no. They all have something in common. None of them actually use the word no. No has a finality to it. This is about getting the balance right with our credibility as a professional and helpful assistant. The art of saying no lies in finding solutions and a way forward. Use the no that fits best with the situation. As general guidance, remember, someone has probably asked you to help them because they believe you are capable and able to do it. So thank them for asking you. Here's our first no. The final word no. Thank you for asking me. I would prefer not to do this. As I'm sure you will appreciate, I have a deadline to meet for preparation of the management meeting packs. Here is our second no. The rescheduling no. Whilst I can't do it now, I could certainly help you later. Make sure you keep your promise to the person you've agreed to help out. Make a diary note or set a reminder. This is your credibility and your professionalism on the line here. Our third no is the problem-solving no. As an example, I'm not in a position to help you. Have you considered phoning technical support? Suggest an alternative solution to the person asking for your help. By concentrating on finding solutions rather than dwelling on a problem, you will be valued as a positive thinker within the team. Our fourth no, the negotiating no. If I help you with X, then I would really appreciate your help with Y. Is this okay? Get the other person's agreement to this negotiation. This is a great opportunity to help each other out by tapping into each other's expertise, skills, and love for doing a particular aspect of work. Our fifth no is the reprioritizing no. I'm happy to do this. However, I will have to reprioritize my workload a bit. What would you suggest? Now, very often, the person requesting your assistance may be unaware of the amount of work that you have on your to-do or task list. Just how much juggling you have to do may be unknown to them. So bouncing back the "what would you suggest" can be a great way to give you some thinking space and get them thinking about your workload and just how much you are actually juggling. Our final no is the one last time no. As an example, I know I've helped you in the past, and I will help you again this time. As I'm sure you will appreciate, with my demanding workload, my priorities need to be with. So from now on, could I suggest you ask technical support or follow the printed procedures I have produced? Is that okay? Get the other person's agreement to this suggestion. In some situations, you can produce an operator's manual or typed instructions or procedures that can easily be followed without interrupting your time, and which will ensure the other person can do this themselves ongoing. A little bit of work up front from you in producing these instructions could save you lots of time in the long run. I regularly share a laugh with PA clients who complain that they're expected to be photocopier engineers, with team members coming to them and asking for help to unjam the machine again and again. So as a stronger PA, you have some great key learning points for communicating assertively, maintaining your work boundaries, and mastering the art of saying no. The characteristics we have identified as imperative for you to be a stronger PA and regarded as a credible and respected member of your team. It's been great to see so many of you joining in this webinar this lunchtime and taking part in the 2014 Assertiveness Workout. We now have some time to answer some of your questions from the chat function, and I'd be delighted to answer as many as I can in the time allowed.
That's great. Lindsay, thank you so much. As Lindsay said, if you can just ask any questions that you have in the chat function, I will then run through those questions. We've got a couple at the moment, I think. We've got one from Dawn, which I'll address in just a second. And I'll pass them on to Lindsay, and Lindsay will be able to answer those for you. If we run out of time, as we said earlier on, we'll make sure we answer any questions you have after the session. So let's look at Dawn's question. Dawn S, apart from saying no, what additional tips do you have around being assertive, Lindsay?
So, additional tips for me, I think we do need to consider the time and place to be assertive. For many of us, we're working in open plan offices, and obviously that assertive conversation is not going to be conducive in an open plan area. So you may want to think about booking a separate meeting room or a separate space to have your assertive conversation. Think about the time of day as well, and the diary and commitments that the person you are having the conversation with has. I think time and place is really going to be key for having that assertiveness conversation. Also, planning is key too. So if you have time to plan your assertive response using the AIDA model, that can be a really great way of being ready with your assertive communication, having practiced it beforehand. I hope that answers your question, Dawn. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Lindsay. Something from actually Sherry and Marissa got something along similar lines. Sherry says, any tips for saying no to very senior members of staff?
Okay, Sherry, I think the AIDA model that we've introduced to you is actually a proven technique that does work with all levels of members of staff. So again, practicing your communication is really going to help. Thinking about the 3 V's. So yes, you have your verbal element with the AIDA, but you need to think about vocal and visual as well. Obviously, it depends on the relationship you have with that senior member of staff, but practice beforehand and actually share that communication. It's a great way of respecting the fact that they have a different view to you as well. And of course, do let us know how that goes, Sherry.
Something else that you can do is, of course, ask people that if you don't have that strong a relationship or don't know them that well, ask other people that interact with them on a regular basis and see how they might approach a conversation. Laura, will these slides be sent out afterwards, please? Yes, they will. We will send them around after the session. Marissa, going back to your point, how do you suggest to a senior manager that something they've asked you to do is actually theirs to do? That's a very good question.
Wonderful. Okay, if I could introduce some really effective language that you can use, which I do a lot of work around use of precise communication. It can be very useful sometimes to get people to appreciate things from your point of view if you've appreciated something from their point of view. So you could start off your conversation with, I do appreciate that you have asked me to do this particular aspect of the role, and I do appreciate that you're obviously very busy in your role. I'm sure you appreciate that part of my remit is not to do this particular task, and therefore I would like to think about a way forward here that we are using our time, both of us, to best fit and meet our priorities. So it's that appreciate word that really can be very, very useful, and I do hope that's going to work for you. Again, do let us know how you go with that communication. So appreciate from their point of view, and then get them to appreciate your point of view. It can be a great way of structuring your conversation.
Thanks, Lindsay. Good advice. Just to Mrs. K. Ball, I have an employee who's asked for a favour. I've explained I can't help, but he's sent several emails now asking to be made an exception. That sounds familiar. As I look after 250 employees, I can't do this. What advice would you give?
Okay, Mrs. Ball, I think, again, going back to being really structured in how you respond to this and finding a way forward, really, a solution that fits with both of you. So using the I appreciate that you are obviously very keen to be made an exception here, or you're very keen to have this favour done for you. And then actually you appreciate I have lots of other things that I'm doing and 250 other employees here. So if we could find a way forward, what would work for you, and maybe bounce that back to that person to see whether they can come up with a solution first. It's a great starting point to open up the communication here. And again, do let us know how you get on with that, Mrs. Ball.
Great, thank you. And just to say, we've got plenty of time, so feel free to ask as many questions as you like. We can go on till 1:10 if you've got lots of questions we need to Sally Ball, any relation, I wonder, to
Mrs. Ball?
I find that as part of my new role involved me becoming involved in an office move and a refurb. I'm constantly being asked to sort out office issues like heating, too hot, too cold, chairs not comfortable, etc., and other issues. I want to be helpful, but I can't be responsible for everything. Yes.
Okay, Sally. So this is going back to what I said earlier, I think, in the information I shared with you. At the end of the day, we are one person with one pair of hands, and actually, again, we can communicate this out to people in a polite way, in an assertive way. Again, I'm sure you could use the appreciate, precise language here, and the AIDA model in your response to people. Maybe something along the lines of, I'm sure you will appreciate I have taken on the office move and the refurbishment, and I have lots of requests on my time and energy. I will try to be as helpful as I can, but I'm sure you appreciate that with the number of people asking me for advice, it is a challenging situation, so please do bear with me. It's being really upfront with our communication there, Sally, which I hope will really help, and then building in maybe some of that AIDA response as well. So when you get a copy of the slides, Sally, sitting down and actually working out your AIDA response and practicing it as well. And of course, you could put that in an email out to people too in a certain format, which would work really well. So again, have fun with putting that together, and I hope everything gets sorted out with your office move and refurbishment, Sally.
Thank you. Cheryl, we have a question from Cheryl. How do you tell a new employer, I'm guessing you mean new employer as opposed to employee, that they're doing something incorrectly? In a nice way, of course.
Okay, brilliant. Great question, Cheryl. I think this is thinking now more about giving feedback out to people. And some of the highest quality feedback that we can give is actually for someone else's development so that they can learn and actually move forward. So again, wording your response in such a way that I'm sure you would appreciate if I could give you some feedback for development, which I have actually noticed here. Would that be okay? Get the other person's agreement that you're giving them feedback, and you're giving them feedback for the right reasons as well. So we all want to be working together as a great company so that we're working to the best of our ability. So would it be okay to give you this feedback? Once you have their okay, then you could go into your AIDA response, of course, and include those words around I appreciate and I'm sure you appreciate too. And again, let us know how you get on with that. It's all in the verbal that we use, and of course thinking about that vocal and visual as well when we deliver our message. So let us know how that goes too.
Okay, thank you very much. And I suppose with a new employer as well, if you've come from somewhere else where you've done things differently, there's no harm in saying, or something that I've found works really well is, and putting it that way. Vocal coaching. Would you recommend vocal coaching to make your tone more assertive?
Oh, goodness. That's a really interesting question, which has got me frowning, actually, because I've never had any vocal coaching, but I have heard great things about it. So if you believe that would really help you in using your voice, another word for it is paralinguistics as well, how we use our voice to benefit us, then absolutely do some research. And if you do some research, I'd be really interested to hear about that too. So yes, can't give you more of a definitive answer than that. Ben, do you know anything about vocal coaching at all?
Well, I know a bit, and I have had some myself as well.
Okay.
And also delivered it to other people too. So it's something that definitely can help. For example, very often when you're nervous, you'll tend to go a lot faster. If you're delivering a webinar or something like that, you could go a lot faster. You need to slow yourself down, make yourself sound confident, assertive, pause in between words. Absolutely, and a good vocal coach can help you do that effectively. So yes, I think it's a very good idea. Okay, where are we? So thank you for that, Charlotte. Sarah, often when you say no the first time, they then come back with an excellent answer of why you should help them It then becomes even harder to say no. Do you have any tips for saying no for the second time?
Okay, I was going to say maybe this is where our vocal coaching would actually come into lots of use here, Sarah. So I think it would be emphasising the words again, so maybe even repeating your original polite no, great way of maintaining boundaries, but repeating it again and emphasising some of those words, so doing some of the more of the vocal here. So, and again, putting in the I'm sure you appreciate. So I have given you my response, and I'm sure you will appreciate that that is where I need to stand here. So I think persistence, really. And again, good luck with that.
Okay, thank you very much, and thank you, Sarah. Where are we? Appreciate we've got Ada. So I've come across the AIDA concept in management communication skills.
Oh, brilliant.
Attention, interest is our action. I've seen you presented a different slant or a different approach to this concept. Has there been any research on it? I'd be interested in reading a bit more about your source.
Okay, so my understanding of the AIDA is it's a really lovely, easy to follow model, obviously with the acronym, which is very memorable for us as well. But actually its basis lies in something called non-violent communication, where we can deliver our message in a way that lands as we intended it to land, so that it gets the other person to almost step away and take a different perspective and to realise that they are respecting you as having different views to them. So I think if you want to do any more research on the subject, I think if you looked up non-violent communication, you would probably come up with a lot on that if you do your search engine findings. Ben, I think it is non-violent communication, isn't it?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah.
There are different versions of it. I mean, there's an AIDA in marketing as well for marketeers. So yeah, it's a different slant, different approach, same letters though.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you what the source is.
Yeah.
Okay, I work for my brother's company as a PA, says Sally. I'm directly responsible to him. Do you have any tips for handling family members assertively? I do, definitely. My sister also works in the same office, but is not a family business.
Okay, so the challenges of working within a family are, I think, being upfront right from the word go with your communication, that okay, once we are in almost work mode, once we're in the work situation, then there need to be some boundaries there need to be some parameters there around how you actually behave and your professionalism within the office environment there. And obviously we don't want to take any work away from the workplace back to our family life as well. And it's the blurring of those boundaries there, I think, that we need to be really clear about. And as long as we communicate that up front, that actually once I step into the office, I am then working here as a PA, and therefore I'm maintaining my boundaries as a PA rather than as your sister. So it's being upfront with that communication and doing it now rather than later. So have a go at that, Sally, and see how that goes. And obviously once you've opened up communication with somebody, then it gives them the okay to communicate with you too. And that needs to be in place in more organisations, I think, where people do communicate openly and honestly with each other. At the end of the day, you obviously want to be working most effectively together, and that has to be the ultimate goal, ultimate aim. So good luck with that one, and again, let us know how you get on, Sally.
Great, thanks Sally, thanks Lindsay. We've got a couple of minutes left, so I think it's time, we've got time for the last two questions we've got in chat. So Kerry says, what would you suggest when the other party crosses the line into aggressive rather than assertive behaviour? Okay,
so again, we're going to use AIDA here, so you could be very structured in your response here. So if someone is being aggressive, we need to notice fact here. So remember, that is the first part of the A. So what is the action here? So when you, and the thing that they did, which you noticed, was aggressive rather than assertive. So when you did whatever, the impact there was, I felt that you were being aggressive. I felt that that was not professional in the work environment. And then go on to your D, desired outcome, and then A, to get their their agreement. They may not, at the end of the day, realise that they are being aggressive. Some people do have more of a brusque approach to within the work environment than others. So, and some would say there is a fine line between being assertive and being aggressive. So maybe just pointing that out to them in an assertive way could be really helpful, Kerry. I hope that answered your question and is helpful.
Good advice, Lindsay. Thank you. So our last question, Danielle has a very good question. It's kind of coming at it from the opposite point of view. I'm quite assertive at work, have a good reputation, but I sometimes find by saying no, other staff members think I'm trying to be difficult. What are your tips for changing this?
Okay, Danielle, I think really with the different no's that I've shared with you, using one of those, a combination of those, can be really, really useful, because actually that they're not saying no, and therefore, if you're always thinking about solution finding to a problem and forward thinking, then it really isn't being difficult. I mean, what makes you think that the staff members think you're being difficult, or is it really just something that you're thinking in your head? I'm saying no here. Maybe they think I am. It's been really clear that you are always finding other solutions for them so that you can move forward. So try using some of those different ways of saying no, a combination of them, or one that fits each situation. So, and you can even say up front, you know, I'm not being difficult here. It's just that, and then go into your AIDA response, or your maintaining boundaries, and your no response. And I'm sure they'll appreciate that actually your time is best used doing other things that more readily fit your job remit to actually ensure that your organisation works to the best that it can. So good luck with that, Danielle.
Okay, so we have a question. Actually, it's an answer. Mrs. Cable, I've used the phrase, do you realise you're coming across as being? So I think this was in reply to someone earlier on, wasn't it? Yes, reply to Kerry's question.
Okay,
so yeah, very
aggressive.
Good advice.
Yeah,
excellent. The last one that we're going to pick, Sarah. Sarah, if one of the team members who you aren't a PA for asks you to set up meetings by suggesting your boss has asked for this, but you know it's because it's a difficult meeting to get in, so they don't want to do it, how do you tell them they need to do it assertively?
Oh, Sarah, wonderful. Go back to using your AIDA, get your pen, your paper out, and work through that scenario and see how that would go, because it's just such a great structure to work through. So again, start with the A. So what was the action here? So when you state fact, when they actually asked you or suggested that you did something. The I, the impact, the D, and then the A, and work through that. It is just such a great structure to use, and practice it before you actually deliver that message as well. That can be really useful. Remembering, of course, this is our verbal AIDA, and we need to be thinking about our vocal and visual when we deliver that. And Sarah, let us know how that goes as well, please, everyone. It would be great if you could all keep in touch and let us know how putting these great skills into practice has benefited you, your teams, and your organisations, of course.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Lindsay, and thank you for all your questions. Some really good questions, some great answers as well from Lindsay. We've pretty much reached the end of our allotted time, so all that remains for me to do is to thank Lindsay for that highly informative workout, and to thank you all for giving up your lunch breaks to join us. As I mentioned earlier on, we'll send out a copy of the slides and a feedback survey to you, and we'll send that out immediately so that you can give feedback. And then we'll send another email out with the recording, etc. next week. Actually, we'll send out the email with the recording and the slides next week. If you do have any questions, feel free to put them in chat, or you've got our contact details there as well. Please feel free to send us an email and we will answer any questions you might have. Our contact details are on the screen, so keep in touch with us. And as Lindsay said, let us know how you get on in becoming even stronger PAs. Thank you once again, and enjoy the rest of your lunch and the rest of your day, wherever you are. And goodbye.
Yeah, thank you everybody, and have a great afternoon, and look forward to hearing how you're putting everything into practice. Thank you, and bye-bye.